Have you ever tried using your pumpkin as a vase, cutting it in half to display your autumn flowers in, and then a couple of days later everything rots? I've got a great solution to that, and it involves a glue gun. I'm Julie from Julie Davis Flower Workshops and Flower Start, the online flower arranging classes. I'm going to show you how to arrange flowers with your pumpkin without cutting into it at all. I'm going to be using these helichrysum to decorate my pumpkins. They were left over from a previous project, and the reason I didn't use them originally was because I felt they had opened up too much. You can see here the centre of the flower is really open. You can see the eye, and the petals have started to reflex backwards. So rather than throw them away, I thought I would use them to decorate my pumpkin. I'm going to be attaching my flowers to the outside, to the skin of my pumpkin. The reason I'm doing that is that because if I cut into my pumpkin and scoop out the middle and put my flowers in the middle, as might be the more conventional way, the pumpkin is going to rot very quickly, and it'll probably only get 2 to 3 days of enjoyment from it before it starts to rot from the inside. Of course, the first thing you need to do is decide where to start adding your flowers in, and I'm going to put my first flower over that blemish of my pumpkin and have a wedge of flowers, almost as if it's a piece of cake that's been cut out of my pumpkin, and just have flowers down one side. And actually my pumpkin is half green, half orange, and I'm going to do the line of flowers on the join. I'm starting by putting a dab of hot glue on the blemished area and then adding in my first flower, and I'm actually putting the flower in the wrong way up. I've put the glue onto the head of the flower, and that was because the flower was so open. I actually preferred the back of the flower. The one thing to remember when you are adding in your flowers is to just tilt them a little bit so they're not all put in flat across the surface of your pumpkin. You want to get a little bit of natural rhythm and movement by just adjusting the position you put your heads in so your eye catches them and you're never seeing a whole circle at any one time. It's always a little bit offset, and that just makes the placement of flowers a little bit more interesting, and your eye will weave its way up through the flower decoration. Today's video is part of a Sunday Funday challenge which is being hosted by Yanni and Diane at Deco Easy and co-hosted by Yvonne from the GingerChick Rehab. I'll leave links to their channels in the show notes underneath my video, and also the playlist, so once you've finished watching this video you can watch all the others who've taken part in the challenge. Now back to my flowers. So what I'm doing here is just vaguely sorting out my flowers into sizes. So I've put my biggest, most open flowers into the middle, the central area of my pumpkin. And then as I go up to the top, the flowers will get smaller. And the same thing as I get down to the bottom, the flowers will get smaller. So your eye lands on the most impactful part of the design with the flowers and then peters out with distance from that central area. This is quite a meditative process. I love working with my hot glue gun, and if you love working with yours too, let me know in the comments underneath the video. This next flower I'm actually going to put in the right way up. You can see it has got some petals that are starting to fall away, but this is just trial and error, and because I'm not going to be touching the flowers once they've been glued in position, I don't think they're going to get too damaged. It's really easy to get carried away with your glue gun, so as you're working down your pumpkin, don't forget to set it upright just to see how far you want to take this band of flowers down the side of your pumpkin. And you'll find that not all pumpkins stand upright. Sometimes they tip forwards and backwards. So you can see here I'm just setting my pumpkin up on its end, and by luck I have managed to stop just at the right time so the flowers aren't getting in the way of the pumpkin sitting square and flat onto my surface. So now I just have to think about doing the top part of my pumpkin. I'm going to have to discard this flower here. Can you see it's just too open and the petals are starting to fall off? So if you ever do decide to grow flowers to dry, and these helichrysum or straw flowers are really easy to grow apparently, but when you come and harvest them, make sure you're picking them when their heads are about 3/4 open. These have been picked when the heads are fully open, and you can see that the petals are reflexing back and they start to fall apart really easily. You want to keep your head so it's really tight and compact, and that way the flower head remains more robust, although by their very nature dried flowers are a little bit brittle and you do have to be quite careful with them. I was lucky enough to pick this pumpkin up for free. It'd been left outside our local allotments and it isn't fully mature yet. It should be a fully orange pumpkin, but I like the fact it was two-tone, and I'm going to put a couple of photographs up and you'll have to let me know whether you prefer it when I'm showing off the green side or whether you prefer the orange side. Green or orange? I feel a bit like an optician when I say that. Green or orange? Leave me a green heart if you prefer the green side, and leave me an orange heart in the comments if you prefer the orange side. I'm pretty much done with my flowers now, and for the last few heads I'm just deciding whether to add them in or whether to leave my flowers as is. What I'm going to do is use up as many of the flowers as I can. I'm not going to have much use just for 1 or 2 flowers for another project. But what I might do is, instead of leaving all the flowers flat on the top surface of the pumpkin, is to start to layer them up a little bit and give more of a 3D look. What I'm doing here is effectively adding a second layer of flowers, so attaching flower head to flower head rather than gluing direct onto the pumpkin skin. So before I commit myself, I'm just eyeing them up, positioning it, getting an idea of where I want it to go, bearing in mind that the pumpkin is sitting flat, and probably most of the time I'll be viewing it from the top looking down, so I'm just creating that extra double layer towards the top of the pumpkin. And for my last flower, I'm just going to bridge the little bit of gap between those 2 flowers on the edge of the pumpkin. So instead of gluing the back of the flower I'm going to add in, I just put a dot of glue on the outer tips of the 2 flowers underneath. And there is my finished pumpkin. I just need to let that dry, tidy up and put it into position on my mantelpiece. Personally, I like the depth of the orangeness of my pumpkin, but you'll have to let me know in the comments underneath the video. Give me an orange heart if you prefer the orange side of the pumpkin, and if you prefer the green side, give me a green heart. That's all for now, and I'll see you next time.